Hey guys, Carrick City here with another review. This time I'll be taking a look at the S.H.Figuarts Shinken Red from Samurai Sentai Shinkenger. This is the Figuarts representation of the leader of the Shinkenger team, and this was also the very first Super Sentai figure to be released in the S.H.Figuarts line. So, being from S.H.Figuarts, this obviously includes several things. The figure itself and several accessories. For hands, we have 2 pairs of alternate hands and 3 unique right hands. And for other accessories, we have the Shodo phone, Shinken Maru, Shishi Origami in both Anal and Emblem mode, and the Eureka Daizanto. So, we'll start off by taking a look at the figure. So, being from Super Sentai, this is obviously a very simple suit design compared to something like a Kamen Rider. But, just taking a look at, starting with the head, you can see that it's a very simple, pretty standard Sentai helmet. And being that each Shinkenger was represented by a specific kanji, they have it on their face, or on the helmet. So for Shinken Red, he has the kanji for fire on his face. And despite what you might think, just by hearing the idea, it does work out pretty well, because you can basically see that these 2 parts make up the eye section. And then the rest of the kanji gives it a little bit of nice stylization. And down to the body, you can see the torso, which is designed after samurai robes, with the cloth folding over being represented by these lines that go around the neck and then down the chest. We also have a golden Shinkenger symbol painted on the chest, standard white gloves, mostly black legs, with a little bit of red from the robes going down here. Then some standard red boots. Of note is that, similar to how there's different material used for the helmet than for the bodysuit, the helmet is done up in a glossy red paint, while the rest of the body is done in a nice matte red, with the black and white also being done in matte colors. Looking at the belt buckle, that's done up in nice metallic gold, or rather nice glossy gold, shiny gold. On the right hip, you can see the Shodo phone holder, with all the appropriate details, as well as a little Shodo phone molded in there. And on the left hip, we have the holster for the Shinken Maru. Articulation-wise is where this really kind of starts to show that this was definitely their first attempt, and they hadn't quite gone down basically a molding or a style that was going to last for too long. Starting with the head, the standard ball joint, and that can also move forward and back. Now the shoulders are where things start to get interesting, as this is not exactly on a ball joint, rather it's on something that looks like a ball joint, but rather it's a hinge and swivel joint. Arms can move in and out and rotate around. The thing is, the way it's designed, you've got this kind of odd diagonal cut at the shoulder, as well as this separate piece that serves to cover up the shoulder joint. Now, because of the shoulder piece, when you move up the arms, they don't exactly go straight up, rather they bend out at an angle. And as far as rotating the arms, that actually works by rotating the arms around the ball, or rather around the joint. And of note about these covers is that while it's not exactly apparent on camera, this is just an unpainted plastic piece, and the color of plastic used is rather distinct from the rest of the body, at least in person. course, you have double jointed elbows and ball jointed wrists with a hinge in them. Have a pretty standard ab crunch and waist joint. Although because of the way that there's just a lot of movement to the waist, you can't really do much with the ab crunch unless you're holding the lower abdomen with your other hand. Though I think that's for the best just because it's rather best to try to keep the lines to match up, because it does look strange when you have it rotated like this and then you have this part that's kind of shifted over. Waist joint is a fairly standard type of SHF legs where they pull down and then swing out, as well as to the sides, and can also rotate. Have double joint knees, ball joint ankles, and the extraneous toe joint. Besides, the rather complicated and rather strange looking shoulders, it's still a fairly good, besides that, overall it's a pretty good body sculpt. So looking at the accessories, first off we have the Shoto phone in its brush mode, and it is stuff like this that shows just how much effort that Tamashii Nations puts into their figures. Because, as see, here it is, and here's my thumb. It is that small, and yet, focusing in on it, you can see just a lot of intricate molding and detail. Obviously, there isn't any writing on it like any of the numbers for the number pad, but so you can make out just a lot of molding details. You can see lines on the top, these parts for where the keypad is, the other half of the keypad that gets folded over, and they even detailed the brush so that it's black at the tip and white going down near the rest of the body. Next is the Shinken Maru, done up in a lot of nice glossy paints. With of course the main colors being this metallic gold and metallic silver. And you have the praxinoscope mechanism here with a mirror set, and then the handle here with a Shinken symbol on both sides at the bottom and a red stripe going down it. Also included is a heat end disc that can be removed. This is the Kyotsu disc, or common disc, which is what the Shinkeners use to transform the Shinken Marus into their signature weapons. As you can see, it has the individual sections and is actually stickered with the pattern. It does look quite nice, and you also have the details on the back. Now, of note is that this just snaps on like so and can't be rotated, as that isn't really needed. Additionally, you can take this and just slide this onto the holster just like so, and it'll stay on there very securely. Next is Shishi origami, first in animal mode. You can see a lot of you can definitely see a lot of detail on there, and a lot of nicely well applied paintwork. And again, here's my thumb, and here's Origami. Once again, it's amazing how much effort they put into these very, very small accessories. In fact, this is actually articulated a bit, because you can move the front legs forward and back. Interestingly, this is articulation that the actual deluxe version of Origami doesn't have. And then you have it in emblem mode. And this one is very accurate, with the silver outlining the red fire kanji, and none of the extraneous pegs that the deluxe version has. And then of course you have the big one, the Reka Daizanto, or the Blazing Great Slashing Sword. So this is obviously the biggest accessory here, and in fact, as far as size goes, this is actually taller than the figure itself. Now for this one, it was a lot easier to make it accurate just because of its size. And really, as far as this goes, this is probably one of my favorite weapons in terms of its design, because while they could have made it very simple, just a simple broadsword, they gave it a very unique and rather intricate design, as it's almost a work of art. You can see it is this big broadsword with a very both long and thick blade, but it's the design that really is what stands out. As you can see, this depicts an erupting Mount Fuji, with this golden part being the lava, this red part being the mountain, and the white for the snow on top. And on top of the lava is the kanji for fire. And you even have here a wave crashing up against the side of the mountain. And of course that's on the other side. It's still a very creative design for a sword. Taking a look at some of the smaller details, we have, of course, a golden Shinken symbol on both sides, or at least just on this side. The handle down here with a little trigger there. And an included disc, this one being the Shihi disc. This one also can detach, like so. Once again, you can see the pattern triggered on there. Although of note is that it is larger than the Kyotsu disc, so it won't fit on the Shinken Maru. And also vice versa. Interestingly, this one can rotate, though that's just an extraneous feature. Unfortunately, this does not transform into its Ozutsu mode or Cannon mode. It's stuck in the Daizanto mode, which is a little bit of a shame, but as far as posing this figure on its own, there isn't much reason to pose Shinken Red with the Ozutsu mode, because that's basically the team weapon. Still, it is really quite impressive. As their hands, you've got this pair of relaxed hands, and a pair of weapon holding hands. A Shinken Maru holding right hand. A Shihi Origami emblem mode holding hand. and a weapon holding hand that's tilted to be at an angle. So we're just removing the Shinken Maru. For the weapon holding hands, just take it like that. Slide under the thumb and fit into a groove that's molded in. Hold in place just like that. For the Shoto phone, you're going to take it and going to slide it so that it's between the first finger and second finger, and then the upper part resting above the thumb. Which is a little bit tricky to do. But basically it's something like that. For the emblem mode holding hand, you're also going to want to wedge it into the hand. Which again is a little bit tough to do. But something like that. Then you have the angled weapon holding hand, which works the same way. It's designed so that it's holding it at an angle. Now finish this up, I'm going to try to get into a pose with the Rekka Daizanto. Just take off one hand, put on an alternate one. And interestingly, the hands do seem to go on fairly easily. And I guess it helps that with a very smooth design, you're not worrying about anything really poking you while you're trying to swap out the hands. But you still encounter the problem of keeping the ball joint straight while you try to put on the hand. Something like that. And because of the length of the handle, you can somewhat manage to get a two-handed pose going for this figure. Just kind of have to maneuver it. Got with that hand and then the other one. Let's see if I can make this work. Okay. So something like that. Adjusting it, just adjusting its stance. Unfortunately, you have to lean them back a little bit, get them to stand up straight. But with the right, basically the right balance of lean back, you can have him standing in such a way that he can stand up straight while holding Ireka Daizanto. Because while it's not exactly heavy, just because of its form, it still can weigh him forward or backwards depending on where it's oriented. But still, as you can see here, once you've gotten him in a pose with it, it looks very impressive just because of its size. And, just to be accurate, you don't want to have him pulling the Ireka Daizanto while with this on his hip, because this turns into that. The unfortunate thing is that one little oversight was having the Shoto phone in brush mode, but not having an alternate empty Shoto phone holder. But still, very impressive. So as far as this figure goes, despite being the first attempt at an S.H.Figuarts figure for Super Sentai, obviously it's flawed, but at the same time, it works. As far as the mold goes, the shoulders are the only thing that's really a problem. The details are very well done. The accessories are extremely well sculpted and painted. And as you can see, the joints work well enough. You can have him in a pose with his very large weapon and not have him falling over. Now, besides being the first Super Sentai figure in the SHF line, it was also one of the first to be released at American retail stores, alongside Shinken Gold. And, well, that was a while ago. I find that, at least for my local Toys R Us, which is where these are being sold, exclusively in American. In other words, in America, this was a Toys R Us exclusive along with Shinken Gold. And what I found, at least from my local Toys R Us, was that they stayed on the shelf for quite a while. So by now, if you can still find them, they're probably going to be on discount, and with that in mind, that makes it a great buy, because you get this high quality figure with these nice, well done accessories that you can put into a variety of poses. And if you're a fan of Power Ranger Samurai, this is a great representation for the Red Samurai Ranger, as there was not any changes between the suits. Although, even if it doesn't come with the Shoto phone in phone mode, honestly, that doesn't really matter too much, as I'd say that the brush mode just works a lot better for what it does than the Samurai Rangers writing kanji using a cell phone. Still, as far as this goes, it's a good figure, and definitely recommend it if you're a fan of Shinken or Power Ranger Samurai. So, thanks for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more videos. And for now, this is KRX50, writing off.